I'm Emily Mashak, and you're listening to Tuned Into NoCo, Town Square Media show that lets you know what matters in NoCo. I'm talking today with Tallon Nightwalker, the director of the Northern Colorado Wildlife Center. So thank you so much for coming in.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having us. I'm excited to be here.
Of course. And now, for those who are unfamiliar, what is the Northern Colorado Wildlife Center and how did it come to be?
Yeah, great question. So Northern Colorado Wildlife Center is a 501c3 nonprofit that I helped found about 5 years ago. So we're pretty young, so I'm not surprised if a lot of people haven't heard about us. We provide wildlife rehabilitation services to reptiles and amphibians, only because we just have the space big enough for a turtle pond, and that's it. We don't have the room for big fox runs and pelican enclosures and stuff. But we will provide wildlife rescue services to all the other species. So even though we can't rehabilitate them, we could help catch them and then transport them to other facilities that are here in the state of Colorado. And so we've helped deer, we've helped fish, birds, and mammals. This time of year is a lot of turtles that are crossing roads, moving to new ponds. But we'll do some habitat restoration work. And, we went up to Estes Park and planted trees last week. And we'll just do kind of general stuff. Whatever we can do to help wildlife with the resources we have is pretty much our game.
That is awesome. And what got you into wildlife rehabilitation?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So I started when I was 5 years old. My dad was the director of a facility that used to be in Fort Collins, but it closed in 2012. But regardless, I would, kind of just go in with him after I got done with school because we lived out in the country. My parents were split up, so, really I had no choice but to go to work with him. And I would just clean empty cages or, do dishes and kind of grunt work because, 5-year-old, his work ethic or quality is not great. But as I got older, I was able to do more and more and just fell in love with the profession more and more as I grew up. And then when I was 18, I was able to file with the state for my wildlife rehabilitation license through Colorado Parks and Wildlife. And then I worked at Greenwood Wildlife Rehab in Longmont for a while and worked there as a facility supervisor and kind of just worked my way up. But we still saw that about 2,000 animals a year were not getting help from Northern Colorado. They were just getting euthanized. And so me and 3 other people decided to found a new nonprofit, Northern Colorado Wildlife Center, of course. And so we've grown to what we are now.
That's great. And so you said you're rehabilitating amphibians and reptiles, but you can help with other rescues. How does that process all work?
It's exciting. So the public will call us, or animal control, or maybe a vet clinic. They'll say, hey, I have a pelican that's tangled up in a fishing line or whatever the emergency is. And we'll send people out. It's either myself, I'm our only paid employee. And so a lot of times I'll send volunteers out. I have them all trained up and we'll do water rescues or whatever else that animal needs. We'll do our best to get it. We run about a 95% success rate, thankfully. And then, and like I said, we'll either catch it and then take it to our facility. We rehab out of a private residence in Loveland right now. Or we can transport down to Denver or something for another rehab if it's a species we can't care for. But we don't charge for any of our services. And so, we want to keep our rescue program inclusive and, to everyone, regardless of income level or any demographic. And so, but that's pretty much how it starts is, they call us and then we just do what we can. No 2 calls are the same. And so it's not like we have strict protocols for anything. We kind of just try to be the quote unquote firefighters and paramedics for the wildlife. We don't do any law enforcement or anything like that, but we just try to do what we can to save them and give them a second chance at life in the wild.
Yeah, that's awesome. And now I was reading on your website, I know you don't have a ton of space right now, but you're looking to expand. Is that right?
We are, yeah. So 2 of our team members, myself included, already have our state license for birds and mammals, or I should say all birds except raptors, because we already have the Raptor Center in this area. And then we don't do any of the large carnivores or ungulates, but we have our license for everything else. And we want to get those guys help. It's about time that we do. The other rehab centers in the state are feeling an extraordinary amount of pressure because they're hitting capacity, within moments of busy season hitting. And so we are looking for land. We need about 5 acres. The zoning is really the big problem. There's not a zoning code in Larimer County, for example. And so we have to go through special use processes and everything like that. And then you have to find land big enough to keep predator-prey relationships, separated and, have parking spaces for volunteers. And then maybe even if a school group is wanting to come out, you need to have room for an environmental classroom outdoors and stuff like that as well. So the hunt is on. We have worked really hard on the Hughes initiative in Fort Collins. we're still kind of working with city council on that one. And then I just looked at another piece of property up in LaPorte, and I'm trying to get the Larimer County zoning to work with us there, but still very preliminary.
Right, right. Well, I'm sure people are hearing this and they probably want to help you out. Is there a way that they can volunteer, maybe donate?
Yes, this year has been much busier than our last couple years, which is great. It shows that we're growing, we're networking. But yeah, we ran about 400 calls last year, and we're about halfway there already this year. And it's only 1 month into the 5-month busy season. And so, donations of just either general cash or, they can always reach out to us on Facebook or through our website and ask for specific item donations and stuff like that. But yeah, anybody's welcome to reach out to us, whether they want to donate, if they found an animal in distress, or if they just want humane solutions. If they want to keep raccoons off their property or coyotes off their property or something like that, we can give them advice on that too. But yeah, I would encourage anybody and everybody to reach out with any animal problems or questions.
Right. And going off of that, like you said, you can offer advice. I know you have educational programs. Can you tell me more about those?
We do, yes. So our education programs are no charge as well. Again, I don't want money to stand in the way of environmental education within our community. And so we really try to tailor each program to the specific audience, especially if it's like a school group that's working on a specific unit. But we've presented to assisted living facilities in the past. We've presented to preschools, all ages. Every year we speak to the CSU Zoology Club and the Front Range Vet Tech program and stuff like that, and just kind of talk to them about how to help animals if they find them, or what it's like to be a wildlife rehabilitator. And just, we really try to tailor it to their program. And in addition to the wildlife rehabilitators that we have on our team, we do have environmental educators as well. So we can really piece together a good team for whatever program or unit you're working on.
That is great. And now I know that if someone does see an animal in need, they can obviously call you. But what should their first steps be? Should they leave it alone? Should they bring it to you? How should they go about that?
Yeah, no, that's a great question too. So, the fallacy of let nature take its course is kind of dying out, thankfully. We encourage everybody to safely and legally intervene when they find an animal in distress. Humans are causing most of the injuries. About 90% of the animals we see a year are human-caused injuries. And so if somebody does come across a wild animal in distress, they have to kind of look at themselves and where their comfort level is. And it's going to probably depend on the species. If it's a big raccoon or, maybe a deer that just got hit by a car, maybe it's better to call animal control and just, kind of watch that animal and make sure you can guide the rescuer to it when they get there. But if it's just, let's say you accidentally hit a toad with your weed whacker, or you find a turtle that just got hit by a car, it's safe enough to, if you have them, put on gloves and kind of put them in a shoebox or another kind of secure, breathable container, and then just keep them away from pets and friends and family, just somewhere nice and quiet and dark for them to just kind of let that shock wear off of them. And just contact us. And if we can't help you, if we can't come and pick it up from you, then we'll certainly get you the resource in the area that's closest to you.
Right. And you also mentioned solutions for human-wildlife encounters. What does that mean?
That's a great question. So human-wildlife conflicts are really anything that an animal is doing on your property that is negative, or maybe something that you're doing that's negatively affecting wildlife, right? It's a two-way street. And so, for example, if you're consistently getting rabbits and other, fledgling birds and stuff falling in your window well, a window well cover is a fairly cheap and inexpensive and easy humane solution, right? It's a solution that is non-lethal, that solves your problem, and you're happy, the animal's happy, nobody's hurt. If we can keep the animal in the wild, that's better. And I think, there's a lot more tricks up our sleeve as rehabilitators than people think. And so, for example, a raccoon's in the attic, and, people will think, well, I need to trap them or I need to kill them or whatever. Well, all you're doing is vacating an apartment essentially for them, right? You're just putting a for sale sign on the outside, and you're going to get another animal, and that problem's going to perpetually move forward. But if you can contact us, we can tell you that, well, raccoons really hate the smell of ammonia-soaked rags, and it's not toxic to them, but they will move on that way. And once you're out, you can put, maybe baby powder on the front of the entrance, watch for footsteps leaving but not coming back so that it's vacant, and then you can seal up that entrance and really prevent that problem from ever happening again, and saving yourself a lot of time and money and headaches in the future as well. Right now, we don't do anything where we will come out and provide those services and actually modify your house for you. Like I said, we are just still pretty small, maybe in the future. But we will, we don't charge for any of our services. And so we'll give you free advice on how you can move forward. And we'll give you, a few different options too. So you can really figure out what fits for your budget. We as working for a nonprofit, we understand budget constraints. And so, most of the, about 95% of the humane solution and advice we can give is relatively free or low charge. But yeah, what I mean, whether it's animals eating your garden or birds flying into your windows and whatever else, we can really give you some good advice on how you can make your property safer for animals without them damaging your property either.
Right. And going off of that, we have talked to Colorado Parks and Wildlife a few times, and they're always sending out reminders, not to feed the bears or to watch out for deer in certain situations. What do you think people need to be more aware of about our Colorado wildlife, especially this summer, maybe as it's getting warmer and we might be seeing them more?
I would say I would have a couple different options there. I think CPW is completely correct, and it's not really appropriate to feed wildlife. It makes them dependent on you. But I get a lot of calls this time of year about animals on the trail, people encountering them as they're recreating, so rattlesnakes specifically. It's, and for snakes on the trail, I just tell people just to go around them safely, like a 20-foot semicircle around them on the trail, or you can just sit there and let them cross. They'll move on. They're hunting. Wildlife don't really have a lot of leisurely time, and so they'll move on. But same thing with moose and deer and everything like that, just having people remind themselves the appropriate way to come across animals and what to do. Maybe, for example, if you come up on a mountain lion, don't turn around and run because that's going to end negatively, but make yourself look big. And same thing with deer and moose. I always, if I come across them, I just, I put my hands up. I don't say anything. I don't want to scare them, but I want to show them I'm not a threat. And I'll just back away slowly. And then once I get a safe distance, I can just turn around and my hike's just a little shorter that day. But the other thing that people can really watch out for this time of year that I've gotten even more calls about is animals in the road. So we do a lot of hit by car animals. We have a box turtle that's a native turtle species here in Colorado that was crossing a road in Denver and got hit. And he got about 10 or 12 zip ties holding his shell together. And, he was in a near coma for the first couple of days, but today was the first day he was actually able to ambulate on his own. So he's progressing. He's on some really serious pain meds and antibiotics, of course. But that's easy too. People can safely slow down and stop for animals in the road. Again, just they can cross, especially with geese this time of year with babies and ducks as well. Goslings and ducklings, of course, cannot fly. And so they're kind of left their own devices to get from water source to water source. And so they have to cross roads. And yeah, people can just slow down and stop for them, put their hazards on, maybe if they want to wave and warn other drivers, that's always appropriate too. And with turtles and stuff in the road, I always tell people just to pick them up by the back of the shell, never by the tail because you could break their back. But just pick them up like a sandwich from the back third of the shell, essentially, and just move them in the direction that they're going. Everybody loves instant gratification, and I don't know of a better way to save an animal's life and get instant gratification than to help them cross the road and be a crossing guard for a little bit.
Great advice all around. And I actually heard about that box turtle. He's at CSU now, right?
So he's in our care.
Okay.
Yeah, so I've been taking care of him. We've been doing a lot of wound management, and like I said, the medications, a little bit of fluid therapy and stuff like that. But we do, our veterinary team that's with our organization does work for CSU's vet hospital. And luckily they provide us with the surgical services. And in exchange for discounting our services, the vet students actually get the opportunity to work on them and get to dabble in wildlife medicine instead of just domestics and exotics. And so it's kind of a nice symbiotic relationship there to give back to us and give back to them. But the turtle's in our care. He's in our private residence rehab in Loveland, North Loveland. And like I said, he's doing great. He tried to burrow for the first time today, so very minor movements, but he's on the right track. And it's pretty impressive after only about a week of getting slammed by a car that he's able to move around again.
Yeah, well, that is great to hear. Is there anything else you would like listeners to know?
I would just encourage them, check our website at nocowildlife.org. Again, if they can donate, that would be amazing. Like I said, we are mostly volunteer run, and so the vast majority of their donations is going to go back into the care and ensuring that our future patients have just as high quality services as our current patients do.
That is great. Well, thank you, Tallon. I appreciate you taking the time.
Of course. Thank you, Emily.
Again, that was Tallon Nightwalker, the director of the Northern Colorado Wildlife Center. Learn more at nocowildlife.org.